ShadowWhispers.
It was supposed to be just another night shift. Me, a cup of cold coffee, and the endless static of a forgotten radio station. But sometimes, silence carries things you're not meant to hear. And once you do, there's no turning back. The year was 1999. I worked the graveyard shift at a small-town radio station. Nobody listened at that hour, except maybe truck drivers or insomniacs. The building was old, walls peeling, and the corridors felt heavier at night, almost like the walls were breathing. My only company was the red on-air sign, and the strange tapes I kept finding on my desk, tapes I swear I never put there. At 2:17 a.m., the static changed. Instead of white noise, a faint whisper slipped through. At first, I thought it was interference, but then, it said my name.
Michael.
I froze. No calls. No scheduled broadcast. Nothing. And yet, someone or something was speaking directly to me. The next night, another tape appeared on my desk. The label read, "Play me." Against my better judgment, I pressed play. It wasn't music. It wasn't news. It was the sound of a girl crying.
Don't let him in.
Then, footsteps, slow, heavy. And finally, a knock on the door. But here's the thing. The knocking on the tape matched the knocking I heard at that exact moment, on the studio door. I didn't open it, but the knocking grew louder, then stopped. Relieved, I glanced at the studio window, and there reflected in the glass, a pale figure, smiling, standing behind me. When I turned around, nothing. 4 nights, the broadcasts grew stranger, more whispers. More cries. Then one night, the voice gave me an address. I went. It was an abandoned house, windows shattered, walls rotting. Inside, shelves of tapes, radios, transmitters. Each tape labeled with a name, some crossed out, some not, on the last shelf. A tape with my name,
Michael, final broadcast.
I picked it up. Before I could press play, the tape spun on its own. The house filled with screams not from the tape, but from inside the walls. The air turned ice cold. The door slammed shut behind me. And then, that knock again. But this time, it was behind me. I turned slowly, my throat dry, my hands still clutching the tape like it was some kind of anchor to reality. The knocking wasn't at the front door anymore, it was inside the house, coming from the rotten wooden walls themselves. Each thud rattled the shelves, making the tapes tremble and fall like teeth breaking loose from a jaw. The whispering returned, louder now, layered voices speaking over one another. I could barely make out words, but I swore I heard phrases buried in the static.
He's here. Don't open your eyes. You were chosen.
The knocking didn't stop. It circled me, moving from one wall to the next, closer and closer, until it felt like something unseen was pacing around me, dragging its hands across the walls. Then silence. Not the comforting kind, the kind that feels alive. I lifted my eyes to the shelf again. The tapes that had fallen now lay cracked open, spilling black tape ribbons across the floor like veins. Some were still moving, writhing on their own, twisting as if alive. And in the dim light of my flashlight, I saw words scratched into the inside of the cases.
Broadcast the end.
Suddenly, every radio in the room switched on at once. Static roared, and buried within it, that same little girl's voice sobbed.
Don't let him in. Please. Don't let him in.
But her voice was being drowned out by something deeper, a growl-like chant that repeated my name.
Michael, Michael, Michael.
The floorboards beneath my feet groaned, and for a moment, I thought they would collapse. Then, the knocking came again, this time directly behind me. Against everything in me screaming to run, I turned. And there he was. The pale figure from the studio window. His smile was wider now, too wide, splitting unnaturally across his face. His eyes were hollow, black sockets that seemed to pull the light out of the room. His body twitched like an old film reel skipping frames, each movement wrong, jerky, impossible. He raised a hand, and knocked once more, not on a wall, not on a door, but on the tape I was holding. I dropped it instantly. The tape hit the floor, cracked open, and unspooled violently, as if invisible hands were tearing the film out. The radio screamed, the walls bled static, and the air smelled like burning wires. I ran. I didn't care about the door slamming shut earlier. I charged straight at it. The wood splintered under my shoulder, and I spilled out into the night, gasping for air like I'd been underwater. But the street was wrong. It wasn't the quiet town road I had walked down earlier. The sky was black, starless, moonless. Every house around me was decayed, their windows hollow like staring eyes. The entire neighborhood was dead, and yet the radio station was still there, glowing faintly in the distance. Something in me whispered that I had to go back, that the broadcast wasn't finished, that if I didn't complete it, it would follow me forever. So I went back. The station looked the same on the outside, but when I stepped inside, it wasn't. The walls stretched taller, the corridors endless, each door leading to rooms I had never seen before. Old equipment hummed with static, and everywhere, the same pale figure's reflection followed me in the glass, never moving, never blinking, just watching. When I finally reached the studio, the on-air sign was already lit. I hadn't turned it on. The microphone was waiting for me, and on the desk another tape. The label was written in fresh red ink, "Final Broadcast Live." My hands shook as I loaded it. The reel spun, and instead of sound, the lights in the studio flickered. The window glass reflected not just me, but dozens of pale figures, all smiling. Then the voice, deep, echoing, filling the room. "Now, speak, or be silent forever." I realized what it wanted. The tapes weren't random. Every voice I had heard, the girl crying, the whispers, the screams, they had all been hosts before me. each one dragged into the broadcast, their names written, their tapes shelved. And now, it was my turn. I leaned toward the microphone, my lips inches from it, my voice trembling, as the pale figure loomed closer in the reflection. This is Michael, I whispered. And this is my final broadcast. The moment the words left my mouth, the static surged like an ocean wave swallowing me whole. The lights burst, glass shattered, and in the darkness, countless hands reached out of the walls to pull me in. The last thing I heard was the sound of the radio signal carrying my voice broadcasting into the night. And somewhere out there, someone was listening. Just like I once had. But the story didn't end there. The next night, at 2:17 a.m., another man sat in the same studio chair. His name was Daniel, the new recruit filling in for the missing night host, Michael. He poured himself a cup of coffee, turned on the board, and adjusted the dials. The static was the same, endless and empty. But as he leaned back, his eyes caught something on the desk, a tape. Its label read, in sharp, fresh ink, Daniel Final Broadcast. He froze, confused. What the hell is this? He muttered. And then the static changed. Not to white noise, not to a song, but to a voice. A voice Daniel didn't recognize, but you would, my voice. This is Michael. And this is my final broadcast. The studio lights flickered. The window glass reflected more than Daniel's face. Behind him, pale figures gathered in the reflection, all smiling. Daniel's breath hitched. He spun around, nothing, but when he turned back, the tape was already spinning on its own. From the speakers, my voice grew louder, warped, almost metallic, as if something else was speaking through me. Now it's your turn, Daniel. Broadcast the end. The on-air sign blazed red. The microphone clicked on by itself, and Daniel realized too late. The broadcast never ends. It only finds a new host.
Shadow Whispers. See you next time.